Hey guys, welcome to another WoW Weekly with Myst. And for this week's stuff, we have the Hallows End event. Figured since it is that time of the year again, that would be the background video. So, if you're interested in, where to go for quests and stuff, that's going to be all seen in today's video. So that is on till November 1st, so you have quite a bit of time to get that. So a couple of things that are notable to say regarding the Hallows End event is that the Headless Horseman, this is a picture of the Headless Horseman here. You can get it out of the dungeon queues. You'll get a loot-filled pumpkin, and when you open it, you get random items. One of those items can be the mount. Also, there's stuff on the vendor, multiple items, stuff to increase your heirloom items. There's pets, no mounts, but there's toys. And they're all worth a good chunk of candy, 150 for most items. So you may want to maybe bring some alts into the picture. It's pretty much an impossibility to get everything on one character, just because you'll run out of dailies and places you can go to trick or treat. So basically how this works is, if you're trying to figure out how long you would have to do stuff to get stuff, the pets are 150, the toys are 150. So the loot-filled pumpkin you get from the daily queue, you can get 4 to 6 candy out of there. So basically, if you're averaging like 5 candy per day off of that, that's 75 candy that you get per event. So basically, you're at half of what you'd need for an item. The rest can be obtained through the dailies. So the first day, you will get roughly 27 candy. Basically, there's a one-time quest you can do for 10, and then there's a bunch of dailies after that, and all, like, once you've done them all in total, they'll equal 17. So basically what that means is, if you do all the dailies and all the queues, you should be able to average, we'll say 75 with the queues and 255 with the dailies, which I guess is enough for 2 items, but you can't miss a day. If you think at all that you might miss a day, I would just bring in another character just in case. But yeah. Also, the handful of treats which you get from the buckets, they issue anywhere between, we'll say 0 to 3, because sometimes you don't get any candy. Sometimes it's like something else entirely. So we'll say 0 to 3. And if you were to loot all the buckets, and there's lots, the Alliance has 131 candy buckets, and the Horde is, I think, 135 or something like that. And so if you looted all those, and let's say you got, 2 treats per bucket, then you'd have roughly 258 from that. Granted, that, unless you still need to do the achievement, I don't even recommend that one. That one's a lot of travel, very time consuming to get. Personally, the way I would do it, and this is the way I am gonna do it, because apparently I'm missing the toys. So I'm missing 4 items. There's 4 items I need. I have all the pets. I just need the 4 toys. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make it easy on myself. I'm gonna get 4 characters out there. I realistically, by doing everything every day, I could buy 2 items per character and only use 2 characters, but I don't want to be focusing Hallows End constantly. I don't want to be doing dailies every single day. And yeah, so I am just gonna bring 4 characters out there. They're just gonna get their currency up to 150, buy the toy, and be done. So yeah, that way I can cut the time I spend doing that in half. So, but if you need the pets, it might be a different story for you. 6 pets at 150. So if you're after all those pets, yeah, you might want to bring in some alts, and you might definitely want to be doing this every day. Because, unless you have a shit ton of alts, which realistically everyone should, but, if you're new, you wouldn't, right? So there is that. Keep in mind, these pets can also be bought on the auction house, so if you prefer to do it that way and save your tokens for something else, there is that option. One pet I would like to point out, and I will link a video that I did on this in the past to kind of show you why you would need this pet. But Widget the Departed, I would prioritize that pet if you don't have that pet. And the reason is because of the Garrison pet power level. He is a prime part of that team. So yeah. Chances are, if you don't have him, people know he's used for the pet power leveling. So they do sell him for a pretty big chunk of coin. Well, chunk of gold, I guess. So I would go after him first, honestly. And if you're a gold farmer, he'd be a good one for selling as well. The toys is the horse head costume, the horse tail costume, Little Wicker Man, and the Headless Horseman Hearthstone. I thought I had the Hearthstone at the very least, but apparently I don't have any of those. I'm really bad at coming back to these events. So, I did all these achievements so long ago with all these events that I just forget to return. But yeah, so I need all 4 of those toys, and that's what I'm gonna focus. Other than that, I have everything else. I don't really care about the casings for the heirloom gear. You can get those. They're pricey, $250 and $450, and they increase your gear to, well, now with the level squish, the 250 one will increase it to 35. The 450s, the first one there is increased to 40, and then the second there is increasing it to level 45. So if that stuff matters to you and you need it, but honestly, you can buy that also with golds. So all in all, if you want to have all the pets, it's gonna cost you 750 tricky treats in total, and if you want all the toys, it's going to cost you 600 tricky treats. Now, if you are doing the achievements, you are going to need a total of 323 tricky treats. And also, the 323 is the max you would spend. You could spend less by actually looting some of the items, rather than having to buy them off the vendor. So do keep that in mind. I'm giving you what the most you would need is, but you could get it for a lot cheaper. And I think that's enough talk on the Hallows End event. And yeah, so that's the main event for this week. And then the weekly is the arena skirmish. So definitely a good week to be, doing the Hallows End leveling. We do a pre-patch, so that is good. You can also get an experience boost from the Hallows End event. The bonfires there, they will give you a buff for 10%, and it lasts for 2 hours. So there is that. And And that is basically it for the weekly events. For those that are in the pre-patch wondering where the invasion is going to show up later on in the patch. So right now it's just customization and leveling, maybe some new characters, checking out Exile's Reach, stuff like that. But once the actual expansion launch is closer, we'll get the invasion. The invasion is really only 2 weeks of content, so that's why we don't have it yet. They're gonna throw it closer to the release, and we're gonna definitely have at least 2 weeks notice of the new release date. So I'm sure we'll get both news together. We'll probably learn what the new release date is and learn when the invasions come in. So, okay, so for my progression and goals, there hasn't really been any goals for the past couple of weeks because my goals involved things I wanted to do before pre-patch, which I got done, and I mentioned them in the last WoW Weekly. So I never really made any goals on top of that because I kind of just wanted to break, and yeah. But I do feel like I can add some goals in. They're not super impressive goals or anything. There's nothing really too heavily that I want to do right now. But for this week anyway, we could make the goal. I have a warlock who's level 46 and a hunter. It's actually another hunter. I have lots, but another hunter that's 45. So that's what they got squished down to when the squish happened. And I'd love to just bring them both to 50, get them up to 50. And I have been playing some of the Mario team as well, but I think those two are going to be my goal for this week. I have done quite a bit with the Mario team, which I'm not going to really talk about in this video because there's an update video that I'm doing for them. So you'll hear more about that one in a different video. But yeah, so that's going to be the goal. Really not much. And, leveling's a little easier now. And, that's only 4 levels on one character and 5 on another. So realistically, it's a pretty easy goal. And then on top of it, we have the experience boost with the Hallows End event. So that will help as well. And yeah, so that's it for that one. So let's move over to news. Okay, so for the first piece of news, I have the WoW Companion app. For those that have not used it in the past, it is a really good. So for Shadowlands, they've really improved it to where you can also be looking at Legion and BFA stuff while you're also looking at Shadowlands stuff. So highly suggest putting that on your phone. It's really great if you're, say, at work or at school and you just want to check your board missions quickly, maybe, fill in some board missions so they can complete while you're not at your computer, and then you get home and everything's done, right? So yeah, also good for checking world quests. One world quest that a lot of you guys might still need is Sabertron, and once Shadowlands rolls out, it's going to be a lot tougher to keep up with that. So the companion app is really good for that one as well. So one interesting thing was happening for Chinese players, but apparently some of the Chinese players were getting a buff on their character. And this is a picture of it. And it says, you have more than 3 hours of online time. You will receive half money and experience during this period. Your rest state will reset in 5 hours of offline time. Please go rest. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, I am glad I'm not a Chinese player because, like, I play way more than 3 hours. And yeah, that seems like a parental thing, honestly. That's exactly what that seems like. It seems like a parental setting, which we already have in the game. I don't think it's that severe, but I do know it does exist in the game. I remember way back when they brought it out, it was big news. But yeah, this one I think's probably unintended. So yeah, that would really suck if you're raiding, right? And then, like, your main tank or something gets that. Next piece of news is having to do with the Bruto. So lately it was discovered, since the pre-patch has dropped, there has been a discovery of it being on the black market, which we all knew it was going to the black market. But what we did not know is what its starting bid would be. And its starting bid is exactly what you would pay for it. It is 5 mil, which honestly I think is kind of ridiculous. And I'll tell you why. I know people that have it probably are happy it's 5 mil, but the reason I find that ridiculous is because anyone who doesn't have it probably doesn't have it because they were hoping to get it for cheaper, right? I think 5 mil as a starting bid is bad. You know, it won't, you know, the typical person won't even want to put an initial bid on that. So, because you're not going to want to pay more than you could have bought it for, right? Like, it's a risk, but, you know, obviously if you didn't buy it off the vendor, it wasn't important enough for you to buy it for 5 mil. So I think 5 mil is a little ridiculous. I think it should be a decent amount for starting, but I think they could have easily put like a starting bid of like 1 mil. You know, I'm not saying start it at like 20,000 or anything, but it shouldn't start at 5 mil for sure. That thing is definitely gonna be a max bid. Like I think that even on the deadest of servers, just because it's starting at a 5 mil bid. Personally, I would just try winning it out of the unclaimed containers, because if it's gonna start at 5 mil, then like, that's just, in my personal opinion, that's just a waste of money. You know, like, why would you ever pay more than you could have gotten it for? Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. So yeah, I would suggest just trying to luck out and get it with the unclaimed container. And you definitely do have to luck out, but it's not impossible. I've gotten a mount out of the unclaimed container before, so. Okay, so another thing is in the achievement list, you'll notice that there's another squirrel achievement, which we haven't seen since Myst to Pandaria. And I believe it wasn't even that long ago when I was mentioning in stream that I missed those achievements. So it's cool to see that they brought it back. That's quite the length of time we were without them. So there is a new one. For those that are maybe in game right now while I say this, you can see the other ones. They're called To All the Squirrels I've Loved Before. Those ones were the Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdom ones. And then there's To All the Squirrels Who Shared My Life. And that one is for Northrend. To All the Squirrels Who Cared for Me was another Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms for the Cataclysm expansion. And To All the Squirrels I Once Caressed was a Pandaria one. So now there's a little weird thing with this, because while they ended at Myst Pandaria, there are more than just the Shadowlands one. There's also one for Draenor called the To All the Squirrels Through Time and Space. And then there's also To All the Squirrels I Love Despite Their Scars, which is the Legion critter one. And To All the Squirrels I Set Sail to Sea, which is the BFA one. And Shadowlands will be To All the Squirrels I've Loved and Lost. The Shadowlands one, obviously, you can't do that one yet, but you can do all the ones prior to that. So another thing I noticed this past week was that we can now vendor the Azerite armor. Some of it was, scrap only or delete. I always chose scrap because, if there's another option over delete, I'll always choose that one. But you can now vendor it, so that's nice and handy. It always drove me up the wall that I'd be holding on to it into my bags until I got to a scrapper, just because I couldn't do anything with it. I'm an enchanter, so I guess technically I could disenchant it, but I have so many materials that it's more worth it to get the money for it rather than keep, disenchanting. Because some of it is actually worth more than the shard would be. Okay, so the next piece of news has to do with the refund timer on items and the trading timer on items. So basically what's going on here is that there's a 2-hour timer on both, right? So if you buy a piece of gear, and if you're a transmog farmer, you're gonna know the struggle here, where you go and buy a piece of gear and you accidentally sell it, vendor it, before the timer's up, and you lose the transmog. Hopefully you see the message, so you just rebuy it. But that's what will happen if you sell it too quickly. So now what they've done is the timer isn't you being online. It's always been the minute you log off, the timer stops. Now it keeps going. So if you log off for 2 hours, the timer will be up and you won't be able to sell to get your money back, which I think's great, because I have never bought anything in the game to refund for their original value. It's always been to get the transmog. So yeah, and it always sucks because it's that one item is sitting on you. You want to vendor stuff out of your bags, but you can't touch that one item or else you'll lose your transmog. So I think this one is kind of good, because you could buy it and then you go eat dinner or something, and and then you come back and the timer's almost faded, right? So it'd be nice in that sense. The 2-hour trading time seems to still be exactly the same as we know it to be. So it hasn't been touched, and it doesn't count down while offline, so it's exactly how we know it to be. So the only change is the refund timer for the vendor. I'm guessing people probably complained over the years. It's annoying. I don't think it's worth complaining over, but it was kind of annoying every so often. So that's basically all the WoW news I have for you guys. There is one last piece of news. I chose it for last because it's non-WoW related, so yeah. But it involves StarCraft 2, so if you are a StarCraft player, there was a blue post this past week where Blizzard announced that they were stopping all major development updates for StarCraft 2. So yeah, that's that. And that's basically all I have. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're having fun in the pre-patch. I hope you have fun in the Halloween event. I am gonna be posting an actual Halloween event video this week, so it's gonna be very similar to what you've seen, but yeah. So if you are stuck on a quests that maybe don't get seen because I end WoW Weekly before we get to them, they will be in another video. And that is it. So I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.